Nobody believed the boy in court, until he said this. The courtroom was silent. Not the silence of justice, but the silence of disdain. In the center of the room stood a 4-year-old boy, too small to reach the microphone, clutching a broken toy car in one hand. The other trembled. People whispered. Some laughed, without bothering to hide it. The judge adjusted his glasses, impatient. "This is ridiculous," he muttered. "A child cannot testify." The prosecutor smirked. The defense attorney crossed his arms, confident. Then the boy looked up. He stared directly at the most powerful man in that room. The man everyone said was untouchable. And said, in a faint but clear voice, "He made mommy cry in the red room." The courtroom froze. His name was Lucas Thompson. He lived with his mother, Anna, in a cramped apartment behind an auto repair shop on the forgotten outskirts of a big city. Anna worked as a cleaner in the courthouse, the very same building where she was now fighting for justice. She came home exhausted, smelling of cleaning chemicals, forcing a smile. Lucas was quiet, too observant for his age. He didn't cry easily. He didn't throw tantrums. He spent hours playing with toy cars, lining them up in perfect rows, as if organizing a world only he understood. What nobody knew was that Lucas saw everything, and remembered things adults tried to forget. It all started 6 months earlier. Anna began coming home different. The smile vanished. Her gaze was distant. Sometimes she'd go straight to the bathroom and stay there in silence for long minutes. Other times, she'd sit on the bed, staring at the wall, as if part of her had been left behind somewhere. Lucas watched it all, quietly. One night, he heard voices from the bedroom. The door was slightly ajar. A man spoke softly. His mother was crying. Lucas caught the detail he'd never forget. The red wall of the room, lit by a dim lamp. After that, the man never came back. But Anna changed completely. Days later, she was fired from the courthouse. The reason? Staff cuts. Lucas overheard her whispering through tears on the phone. He said nobody would believe me. The day of the main hearing arrived like a weight on Anna's chest. The courthouse building, which she used to clean in silence before dawn, now loomed like a cold, indifferent monster of concrete. Every step down the hallway echoed like a warning, "People like you don't win here." She held Lucas's hand too tightly. The boy walked in silence, taking it all in. The expensive shoes, the bright walls, the glances that slid over them without respect. When they entered the courtroom, Anna felt the blow. The defendant was already there. Judge Robert Matthews. Expensive suit. Perfectly knotted tie. The same calm smile of a man who never had to ask permission for anything. He chatted casually with his defense attorney, as if he were at a routine meeting, not accused of destroying a life. Anna sat in the witness area. Alone. No family. No friends. Just whispers behind her. "That's the cleaner. She's just trying to get money." These stories always pop up. She squeezed her eyes shut, swallowing her tears. The judge entered. Everyone stood. The proceedings began cold, technical, distant. Complicated words. Legal articles. Everything designed to confuse, not clarify. When Anna was called to testify, her legs shook. "State the facts," the judge said, without emotion. She took a deep breath and began. She spoke of the harassment. The stares. The disguised jokes. The doors closing late at night when the building was empty. She spoke of the fear. The imposed silence. That night when it all crossed the line. When she finished, the room was quiet. For just a few seconds. The defense attorney stood slowly. A calculated smile on his face. "Ms. Anna," he began, in an overly polite tone, "do you have any proof?" She swallowed hard. No, he knew where the cameras weren't. The attorney made a theatrical gesture. "So it's just your word against the word of a respected judge." Some people chuckled. "You were fired shortly after, correct?" "Yes. Convenient to accuse someone powerful after losing your job." Anna felt her face burn. "I just want justice," she said, her voice breaking. The attorney nodded slowly. "Of course. Everyone does." The judge took notes, impassive. The prosecutor barely defended her. He seemed uncomfortable, almost embarrassed to be there. Then came the preliminary ruling. "No sufficient material evidence," the judge said. "The testimony is weak." Anna felt the floor drop out. "Case dismissed," he began to say. That's when something broke inside her. Anna stood abruptly. "My son saw it." The words echoed like a desperate scream. The courtroom erupted in muffled laughter. "Is this a circus now?" Someone muttered. The judge banged his gavel. Order. He looked at Anna with irritation. Ma'am, control yourself. She pointed to Lucas, sitting in the back, too small for the huge bench. He was there. He saw everything. The defense attorney shook his head, amused. Your Honor, are we really considering the testimony of a 4-year-old child? More laughter. Lucas watched it all in silence. The broken toy car gripped tightly in his fingers. His eyes attentive, recording every detail. The judge sighed deeply. For a moment, it seemed he'd end it there. But something bothered him. Bring the boy, he said finally. Let's hear him. And wrap this up. Anna felt a mix of fear and hope. Lucas stood slowly. As he walked to the front of the courtroom, nobody noticed. But Judge Robert stopped smiling. And for the first time, he looked away. Lucas stood before the judge. His feet barely touched the floor when he sat in the chair too big for his small body. The microphone was far away, angled for adults who never imagined hearing such a big truth from such a small voice. The broken toy car stayed in his right hand. He spun one loose wheel with his thumb, slowly, like he always did when nervous. The judge cleared his throat. Lucas, do you know why you're here? The boy looked around. The bright walls. The people in rows. The man in the dark suit avoiding his eyes. I know, he answered. The room murmured. His voice was too steady for a child. And why do you think you're here? The judge pressed. Lucas thought for a few seconds. Because I saw. The defense attorney jumped up immediately. Your Honor, with all due respect. Sit down, the judge interrupted, something in the boy's expression catching his attention. We'll listen. Silence spread like a heavy shadow. What did you see, Lucas? The boy squeezed the toy car. His gaze scanned the room until it stopped exactly on the defendant. Judge Robert Matthews kept his body still, but his jaw was tight. His hands, clasped on the table, wouldn't stop moving. Lucas raised his arm slowly. Pointed. Him. A murmur rippled through the courtroom. The defense attorney let out a short laugh. Lucas, are you sure you're not confusing things? The boy turned his face slowly toward the attorney. No. The simplicity of the answer unsettled him. You know it's important to tell only the truth, right? I always tell the truth, Lucas said. The judge leaned forward. Then tell us calmly. What happened? Lucas took a deep breath. I was playing in the hallway. Anna covered her mouth. She'd never heard her son say this out loud. Which hallway? The prosecutor asked, now fully alert. The one with the shiny floor. Near the old elevator. Some courthouse staff exchanged glances. And what happened next? He called Mommy. Lucas pointed again at the defendant. She didn't want to go. The defense attorney stood abruptly. Your Honor, this is clearly a child's fantasy. One more interruption and you'll be warned, the judge said sharply. The attorney sat, annoyed. Lucas continued. He opened the red door. The courtroom reacted immediately. What red door? The judge asked. Lucas frowned, as if the question was odd. The one in hallway 3. The prosecutor straightened in his chair. Hallway 3. Yes. Where there's no camera. The silence that followed was different. Not disdain. Shock. The judge froze. How do you know there's no camera? Lucas shrugged. Because he said so. The defendant shifted for the first time. This is absurd. The defense attorney exclaimed. A child couldn't possibly know that. The judge raised his hand for silence. Lucas, what else did he say? The boy swallowed hard. He said it would be quick. Anna began crying silently. Said for Mommy to stay quiet. Lucas looked down for a moment. She cried. The judge took a deep breath. And you, where were you? Sitting on the floor. Did you see what happened inside? Lucas looked up again, his eyes too serious. The door closed. And after, I heard. Heard what? Mommy asking him to stop. The defense attorney stood, red-faced. Your Honor, this exceeds all limits. We're allowing a child to destroy a judge's reputation with made-up stories. The judge banged his gavel hard. Enough. He turned back to Lucas. Lucas, do you remember anything else? The boy was quiet. For a few seconds, it seemed he wouldn't answer. Then he said something nobody expected. He talked to me after. The entire courtroom leaned forward. What did he say? The prosecutor asked, voice low. Lucas mimicked the tone he'd heard months before. Said I was too little. The defendant closed his eyes. Said kids forget. The judge felt a chill. Anything else? Lucas nodded slowly. He said nobody would believe me. The room exploded in murmurs. Silence. The judge shouted, visibly shaken. He turned to the prosecutor. Check the records for hallway 3 immediately. Yes, Your Honor. Minutes that felt like hours passed. The prosecutor returned, pale. The cameras in that hallway were turned off on the exact days mentioned. The defense attorney fell silent. Judge Robert breathed heavily. The judge turned to Lucas one last time. Lucas, why did you decide to speak today? The boy thought. Because Mommy stopped smiling. Anna sobbed loudly. And I don't like when she cries. The judge closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, his voice was different. This court recognizes the relevance of the testimony. The gavel banged. Case reopened. Lucas climbed down from the chair slowly. As he passed the defendant, he looked at him one last time. No anger, no fear, just said, I remembered. And in that moment, the man everyone feared, realized he had been defeated by something he could never control. The truth. The judge's gavel still echoed as Lucas returned to his mother's side. Anna pulled him close, as if afraid someone might take him. Her hands shook. Her whole body seemed too tired to celebrate. This wasn't victory yet. It was just the beginning. Judge Robert Matthews left the courtroom escorted. Not handcuffed. Not humiliated. Yet. But the smile was gone. The man who entered confident left staring at the floor, as if the cold tiles had finally become too heavy to bear. In the days that followed, the case exploded. What was once dismissed as a weak accusation became headlines. The boy's testimony. The hallway without cameras. The red room. All those secrets whispered in corridors for years were now in newspapers, social media, evening news. And then, others came forward. One by one. First an intern who had transferred years earlier, for personal reasons. Then a temporary employee who never got a permanent job again. Then a woman nobody remembered, because she had simply given up. All with the same story. The same late hours. The same hallway. The same red door. Anna watched the testimonies on TV, sitting on the old sofa in their apartment, Lucas beside her. The boy didn't understand every word, but he understood the tone. He understood when his mother cried quietly. He understood when she took a deep breath and nodded, as if each story confirmed what he always knew. The trial moved forward faster than anyone thought possible for those who believed justice never came. Judge Robert was removed from his position. Then suspended. Then formally charged. On the day of the final hearing, the courtroom was packed like never before. Cameras. Reporters. People who never cared now fought for seats. The same place where Anna had been mocked months earlier now felt like a different world. She entered with her head high. Not because she wasn't afraid, she was. But because she no longer felt shame. Lucas walked beside her in a simple but clean shirt. The broken toy car in his pocket. He didn't play with it like before. It was more a symbol now than a toy. The judge entered. The same judge who had nearly dismissed the case. His posture was different. His voice, firmer. The prosecution presented the final evidence. Records. Testimonies. Expert reports. The pattern was undeniable. When it was the defense's turn, there was no arrogance. Just weak attempts. Empty excuses. Long silences. Judge Robert never looked at Anna. Never looked at Lucas. He seemed smaller. Shrunken inside his expensive suit. When the judge began reading the verdict, the courtroom fell absolutely silent. This case is not just about one crime, he said. It's about abuse of power, imposed silence, and institutionalized fear. Anna squeezed her son's hand. For years, this court failed. Lucas looked up. Failed to listen. Failed to protect. The judge took a deep breath. But today, this court listens. The word, guilty, rang out like thunder. Judge Robert Matthews was convicted. Prison sentence. Loss of position. Loss of everything he used as a shield. Anna didn't shout. Didn't celebrate. She cried. Cried like someone releasing a weight she never should have carried alone. Lucas watched in silence. Outside the courthouse, reporters approached. Do you feel avenged? What would you say to other victims? Anna answered only once. I just wish my son hadn't needed to be so strong. Months passed. Life didn't become a fairy tale. But it changed. Anna got a new job, far from the courthouse. A simple place with simple people. For the first time in a long time, she slept without waking up scared in the night. Lucas started talking more at school. Drew fewer hallways. More houses. More trees. One day, he came home with a different drawing. It was a big building with a red door. But this time, the door was open. And outside, a huge sun. What's this? Anna asked. Lucas thought before answering. It's a place that doesn't scare anymore. She hugged him tight. One night, while putting the old toy car away in a box, Lucas asked, "Mommy, nobody will cry in that room anymore, right?" Anna knelt in front of him, looked into her son's eyes. "No, because now they know." Lucas nodded, satisfied. "Okay." Years later, when people mentioned the case, they talked about the convicted judge, the scandal, the impact. But those who really knew always remembered the boy nobody took seriously, the boy who was ridiculed, the boy who didn't scream, didn't accuse, didn't seek revenge. He just told the truth, and proved that sometimes, the most powerful voice in a courtroom is also the smallest one.